And we're on with Jack and Suzi Hanna.
It's such a joy to have you with us today. We love you both so much.
You are so sweet. And I'll tell you what, it's a blessing for us to be able to spend time with both of you. You're such an inspiration for really many, many people.
Oh, man.
Thank you, Suzi.
Now, you guys have so many stories, so much journey. I mean, for those who have maybe just jumped on and have not maybe heard of you, I mean, it's an incredible 50 years in the zoo industry, conservation work, traveling around the world doing your TV shows, your books. It's incredible.
Yeah. You know, having been raised on a farm in Tennessee where I was born with animals. And that was something for me to do. And then I went to school and met Sue in college. And then it was so funny because I took my donkey to college. My dad said, "You're going to get kicked out." Well, he was correct. But they didn't kick me out. I moved my donkey next door to the college. And that's my beautiful wife of 51 years. This is really romantic in a way. Well, really, it's not romantic at all. I met her in French class and asked her if she goes feed my donkey with me. I had my donkey in school, and she went, and that's how I met this beautiful lady, 50 years now, because she went to feed my donkey with me in college.
I love it.
That's romantic, isn't it?
You talked in the book about her. You know, she was like you were captain of the cheerleading team.
I was,
and just like absolute most popular girl in college. You were this farm boy from Tennessee.
Yes.
And she had the eye of every boy in school.
Yes.
You wooed her over with your donkey.
You're embellishing this story.
You're right. Yes, you're right about that. And the way I married her 50 years, she came to me because she loved animals. See, and I'm not an animal really, but
but you had animals.
You see, the animals. If I hadn't had my animals in college, Sue probably wouldn't have died in me.
It's pretty. So all those guys listening who are like, man, I don't know how to get that girl. Maybe you think about buying a miniature donkey.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know, it's
That's
fun.
the first time I've been interviewed on national TV, but no one's ever asked that question. I love that. So did you hear that?
I heard it.
This is great. I've been national shows
You've
in
been
New York.
on David Letterman 100 times. You've been on James Corden. You've been on Larry King.
Exactly.
You've met 2 sitting presidents.
Right.
But only here on Hey, It's the Luskos have you been asked about the miniature donkey used to woo your wife.
Sue, this is nice. This is the greatest thing I've ever made. All those shows I did, no one ever asked me that, Sue. You're so right.
Well, they were all amateurs. You know, you need to come to professionals here on this podcast.
Exactly. She has been with me 50 years because of my donkey.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
And I've met your current donkeys, and those are amazing. They love carrots.
Sweet.
Yes.
I've never seen any animal love a carrot so much as your donkey.
I took 10 carrots yesterday and 3 donkeys. How'd you know that? Thank you. So if you have any carrots left over at home, just let me know.
Okay.
Get into the donkeys.
I'm sorry for people
Your
watching.
donkeys are very pleasant, though. They're like, but there was the chill alpaca in the back. Was it a llama? What is it?
It's an alpaca.
Yeah.
But they do. It's so cute when we go up to the farm right away. They come running over.
The donkeys do that, not the alpaca.
The
alpaca doesn't want nothing to do with the carrots.
Right. The alpaca doesn't care, Sue. The donkeys do.
What do the alpacas eat?
Grain. If you have some grain, put it in your hand and they'll come over.
So what originally attracted you to Jack then?
You know, it's really funny because Jack and I were best friends. We started out that way. He was like my brother. And if you had said to me that we would ever end up together, no way, because there wasn't anything romantic there. And with my best friend.
I'm not romantic, you said?
Well, he was trapped in the friend zone. But he got out. He got out of the friend zone.
He did get out of the friend zone.
So I weighed 220 more glasses. Okay, but maybe I wasn't.
But everybody loved being with Jack of this marvelous sense of humor he had. He would make us laugh all the time, and we just adored being around him.
That's really insightful because a lot of guys are kind of afraid of, oh no, the friendship's bad because then she won't think of me as a romantic, interest. But that has worked for you guys because here you are 50 years later. And you still have that friendship to build on.
Yeah. Absolutely. And he had a girlfriend, and he was so excited for me.
You didn't mention that.
Yeah. And I had a boyfriend, but he was so excited for me to meet his girlfriend.
Yes.
And I thought they were perfect together because he raised donkeys. He loved them, and her last name was Hahi instead of Hee Haw.
Okay, so
I promise that's true. It's true.
Oh my gosh.
And everybody fell in love with this donkey at school. I used his donkey in all the pep rallies. And even when we took the college picture of all the students, his donkey was in that picture.
Oh my gosh.
Really cute.
That's so
I hid my
funny.
donkey behind the.
The fraternity house.
Yes,
Yeah.
You weren't allowed to have it in college, but you brought it with you anyway.
Yes,
Well,
and I
because
got
the
in trouble.
first school it was a boarding school that you went to. You asked if you could bring them, and they said no. So then you said, "I'm not going to ask. I'm just going to bring them," which I love so much. You're like, "Well, I learned that time. I'm just going to bring them and see what happens."
Yes.
Okay, so you loved animals. That was part of it. But then, of course, you got more than you bargained for. You never knew what a role animals would play in your life. Was this guy?
For sure. And it was cute because at Christmas time, we're freshmen in college. And again, I have a boyfriend. He has a girlfriend. And he sends me a picture with this Christmas card. And it's a picture of Jack with his donkey. And I said to my dad, "Oh, look, here's my best friend in college." And my dad looked at it and he goes, he said, "I bet there's more to it than best friends." And I'm like, "No, Dad, he's just like my brother."
So what made you
Yes.
realize? When did you start to realize? Okay, I do like this guy.
Well, he and his girlfriend they broke up, and then the guy that I was dating flunked out of college. I can't believe I'm saying all of this. Anyway, and so that romance went south, and we started, because we're best friends now, we started going to all the college functions together. And then one time there was a dance, and we were dancing, and it turned into a slow dance. And we started slow dancing, and he looked at me, and he looked really cute that night, and he kissed me, and that was it.
That's
See what my donkey did for me? I got this beautiful lady 50 years because she liked my donkey.
Yeah.
That's nice.
That's sweet.
Did you like her before she liked you then? Were you already kind of thinking that way before she came around to it?
I was. See, I used to weigh about 220. I had these glasses, but not that I'm handsome now. I'm just whatever.
You're pretty ruggedly
All I know
handsome.
is that
Indiana Jones ain't got nothing on you.
Well, if it hadn't been for my donkey, I probably never would have married her. I mean, she would have married me. But I would have already married her. But thank goodness I brought that donkey to college. Oh my gosh!
And we also brought 3 ducks. Remember that? We went to Long Island with my dad fishing, and Jack saw a sign that said ducklings or ducks, and he said, "Oh, can we stop?" He didn't know that it was for Long Island ducklings.
Oh gosh, they were
For dinner.
eating.
But anyway, we went in, and here were all these little ducks, and we bought 3 of the ducks and brought them back to college, and he had them in his dorm room, and then they found out, so he had to get them out of his dorm room, and we put them on the pond, and there they were.
I love that.
Probably their relatives are still swimming
there
on that
exist.
pond.
It's
Yeah.
amazing.
So sweet.
Yeah, and she dated me because I love my ducks.
You got married while you're still in college. Got pregnant right away.
Honeymoon.
On the honeymoon.
Honeymoon
Yeah.
baby.
Very good.
And she just had surgeries too, and you weren't supposed to get pregnant. But
Oh man.
Yeah.
And then just instantly plunged into like building your own little zoo at your house, right, in Tennessee.
We had lots of animals, that's for sure. Lots.
Describe the zenith
and a
of the
lion
craziness.
even.
And a lion even. Okay, so at the zenith of the craziness of your home zoo, because you were kind of trying to build a Tennessee zoo in your house.
yes.
So
Yeah.
describe how many different animals there would have been living in the house at that point.
Well, we had animals outside. Yeah, I went to see The Born Free with my mother, and I always wanted a lion.
What
and
is
now
the Born Free?
it was a movie. Born
Okay.
Free was called. Yeah.
That shows how young you guys are.
I'm gonna get on YouTube
Honestly.
and watch it
Oh,
though.
yeah.
Born Free.
Oh my
Born Free,
goodness.
Who's the
It
artist
was
of that? Or is that a movie?
It's a movie.
It's a movie, and it's
There's
a
a
true
song.
I thought it was a
story.
song.
It's
Okay.
Yeah.
it's a true story. And when we got married, we danced to Born Free because there's a theme song.
Born free, as
Yep,
free as
that's
the
it.
wind blows.
That's it. That's it.
beautiful.
And it's really a touchy movie. And when you see that movie, you do fall in love with lions.
Yep.
And Jack and I were like, oh my gosh, we have to get a lion.
That's what everybody thinks when they see a movie with a lion in it. You know what? We have to get a lion. Only you guys did it.
We did.
So at that
Well-
point, you bought the lion from a mail order catalog?
Yes, because that's what I did. Yes, but that's all been stopped now. That was totally stopped in this country.
Joe Exotic.
Because some people were buying
this is 50 years ago.
But they were buying these animals like that, and people, when they got bigger, then they wanted to get rid of them. And so I did a lot of help taking those bigger lines, because today you don't do it. That's a lot of work.
Now, did you guys watch Tiger King? I have to ask.
No, neither one of us did.
It's probably for the best, but that's the epitome
I couldn't
of that.
handle it
This
either.
guy who's just got all these, animals and all that craziness, but that's the kind of thing they've kind of shut down.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Right.
Yes.
But we lived on a mini farm, and the Knoxville Zoo at the time, they were redoing some of their habitats, and they asked us to take care of some of the hoofstock. So we even had an Indian water buffalo, and our goats, when the buffalo would lie down, our goats would stand on top of the back of the Indian water buffalo, and when he'd stand up, he'd be walking around with these goats on top.
Yeah,
It's
but-
crazy.
But the sad thing was, though, that the goats got on my dad's car on top of it, though, and that wasn't funny. He didn't like the goats on
gosh.
top of his car.
We had a spider monkey that
gosh.
I would just let run around on the outside of the house. We had chickens, we had lions, and we had two
How many
chimpanzees.
lions? How many lions
And
would you
well,
have
we
had?
had three. We ended up with 3 babies: Matthew, Mark. Or did we have 4
Matthew, Mark,
now?
Luke, and John.
No,
Sarah.
Matthew,
Nope.
Mark, Luke, and Sarah.
Sarah.
That
Yeah,
was
yeah,
it.
yeah.
That's
Yeah,
right. Mark, Luke,
yeah.
and Sarah.
That's right. We named him after Bible names. And Giacomo, the spider monkey, my friend that I was playing
Oh, no.
tennis with,
Oh,
she
Sue.
wanted to come over to the house and bring her daughter and see all these animals that we had. It was
Oh,
called
gosh.
Hannah's Ark, and because her house actually looked like an ark.
I saw a
and
picture of it. So cool.
she came over. And she pulled up in her brand new Cadillac.
It wasn't my fault.
And
Wasn't
her
my fault.
window was down, and I didn't see her pull up. And I knew Giacomo loved to jump in
Oh, my-
cars. And Giacomo jumped into her car through the window,
Okay, Sue.
peed all over her and all over
gosh.
the leather
Okay,
seats
Sue.
in her brand new Cadillac.
gosh.
I was mortified. I didn't know what to do. I felt so badly. And when I saw her 2 weeks later when we were playing tennis, I said, Joanne, I'm so sorry about what Giacomo did to you in your car. And
Well,
she
see,
said,
she-
oh, Susie, don't worry about it. It's the best cocktail story I've had to tell in a long time.
Well, I got a leather seat, and he peed all over the seat. Darn it, it wasn't my fault.
Felt
Left the
really,
door open.
yeah.
So the zoo kind of grew out of control there. And now at this point, you opened your own pet store at the same time?
Pet
right?
Kingdom.
Pet Kingdom.
Yep.
Out of an abandoned motel that your brother had
Yeah,
bought?
my brother had the thing there, and he didn't know what to do, so I just decided I was going to put in a pet shop there. And that's
What
what I
kind
did.
of animals were you selling?
Well, it was just rabbits and things like that, not lions or
Fish.
tigers. Fish, yes, fish and all that kind of stuff. That's
He and his friend went into this business of building fish tanks. It was
Okay,
called
oh, so-
S&H.
Oh, my
His name
gosh,
was
Sue,
Stanley
please.
Felix Smolowitz and Jack, this business. And they were going to make these fish tanks
Yeah,
that didn't have
glass.
metal, on the corners.
used
They were
glue.
going to glue them together
We
so
glued.
they'd look really nice.
and
Tell
we-
them what
and we-
happened.
And we sold all the fish tanks with our golden fish, all the fish there. We let them buy the tanks and everything, and all of a
And
sudden,
what happened?
okay, so after about 1 week, 3 of the tanks, all these different people called me because the tanks blew apart and went all the water, all the glass went all over their couch.
And their exotic fish.
It's true.
It was
Yeah.
terrible. The fish, they got upset because the fish died, or some of them, but then the glass went broken on their floors.
Oh no! Oh,
I guess we didn't put the right glue on the glass.
I guess not.
Not good.
Guess not.
So we stopped.
Oh, that is so sad.
I tried my best, Sue.
You
Okay,
did.
so you're just newly married. You have lions running around your home. You
newly
have-
married with a baby
a
because they
baby-
got
with a
pregnant
honeymoon
on
baby.
their honeymoon.
Yeah.
It's a miracle anyone survives first year of marriage, but you guys had first year of marriage with wildlife running around.
It was. I remember one time my dishwasher wasn't working and I had to have a repairman come. And so we're bending down looking at this dishwasher. And when he came into the house, he didn't close the door. And all of a sudden, we looked up. It was like an I Love Lucy episode. All these chickens were flying around in our
my
house.
gosh.
And then trying to catch them. Oh,
It
my
wasn't funny,
gosh.
Sue.
They were going crazy.
The poo-poo was all over the house, Sue. It wasn't funny.
It was, how could this be?
Wait, was that
How could this
the
be?
night when you were sleeping? What was that one?
Oh, that was the minor bird. That's another story.
Did you guys get the minor bird stolen
Yes.
and they found it because it cursed and the police
Yes.
had to track down the minor bird and because it cursed like you knew it would?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're right.
Because it was owned by hippies or something like
Yes,
that?
yes.
So, stuff. It was what he would say.
It was really bad.
Well, I brought the thing home, the animal that night, and all of a sudden, Sue.
Well, this is another
Sue had
story.
to walk down the steps to go to the bathroom that night in our house, and the animal went like this. What a delight! What a delight! What a delight! Well, I didn't know the animal said what a delight. And she was going to the bathroom.
What a
It scared her
delight.
because the animal was saying,
bird.
the animal was going, "What a delight! What a delight!"
But
And
it
she
scared me because I
scared her
thought
to
somebody
death.
was in the house.
My
You
gosh,
thought he
she
was
said,
sitting
somebody's
on
in the
your wife.
house.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
said, somebody's in the house. That's my monkey in the house or whatever. I don't know who's in the house. So, guys, my
But
fault.
one time, Jack was talking to a Bible study group in Florida, and he would
Oh, no, Sue,
go
please.
everywhere. He would go everywhere and
was a
talk to
Bible, yeah,
anybody. And this was a Bible study group, and
was.
they had the meeting in the sanctuary of the church. So they introduced Jack,
But
and
they asked you to bring the animals too, though.
Well,
Well-
you did not want to bring Joe the minor bird in because Joe said a bad word.
I know.
And I said, Jack, he hardly
See,
ever
I-
says it. He always
told-
would say, take the man's order, take the man's order. And I said, everybody loves it when you bring animals. And it would just be fun to at least have one animal
Yeah.
here. And Joe's very entertaining because he does talk. And honestly, he really never said the bad word. And the minister said, this is so bad. Oh my gosh. The minister says, now before we introduce Jack, let us all say the Lord's Prayer. And he said, Our Father. And just then, on cue,
Oh, gosh.
Joe said the bad word.
Yeah.
And I get one of these elbows into my side because
told
Jack did not want to bring
You
the
knew it.
bird.
You knew if you brought the bird to church, it
Oh
was gonna
my
curse.
gosh.
I know, I didn't-
And he proceeds to go up there and he said, I
Oh my
just
gosh.
want to apologize. I want you all to know I told my wife we should not bring the bird.
Classic,
And
I
her
told you so.
father was a minister and she said it's okay. So I thought it'd be fine. I'm like,
Yeah, your
oh, he
dad
threw
was a
me under
pastor.
the rug.
Yeah, he did throw you
Oh
under the
my
bus pretty good.
gosh.
Your dad was a pastor. Sue.
He was.
Yep.
He was a lay pastor. He was assistant principal of a school, but he would preach unto the Lord every other Sunday for 30 years.
Yep.
So
Principal pastor. So you probably didn't get away with much.
I didn't. It's not easy being a preacher's kid, a PK, they call them.
Or a principal's
Sometimes.
kid, I can imagine.
Yeah, either way.
Wow. So what is it like having lions in your house? Like, I mean, they're probably cuddly when they're little.
With a little, yeah.
But you had a lion you became very attached to.
Daisy,
Yes.
right?
Out of all
Was
of them.
Daisy
Oh,
your
it's
favorite?
Daisy?
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, when I saw that Born Free movie, that's when I tried to help with the lions because people back then they could buy baby lions. With a sad point, the sad thing is, then all of a sudden they get big and they didn't want them.
Yeah.
Cost of keeping them fed, all that.
Exactly, and also you get a big lion, you're in trouble. So that's why I try to do and help people with that because you just can't buy a lion, and that's all stopped in the United States now anyway.
Yeah.
And any money we ever had always went to building habitats
Yeah.
for
New
animals.
enclosures.
Yeah, always,
Would they
always. Because
escape? Would they escape the enclosures ever?
no, not really.
You did a good job.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I sure did. Yeah. Yeah.
He did it
Daisy.
first class.
How long did you get to keep Daisy?
Wow. Daisy, what was at least 2 or 3 years, wasn't it? I know it was.
Yes, and
Yes.
then we had a tragic accident that happened, and that was a point that we ended up moving away, and Daisy went to the Central Florida Zoo in well,
You
obviously
wrote about
Florida.
that in the book.
Yeah.
About
Yeah.
this child
Exactly.
got his arm.
Taken off
Bit off
by
by that.
Daisy. Yeah,
They
Jack.
climbed across 3 fences to get to the animal.
Gotcha.
What happened is the deer family would come to the pet shop and they asked where, because his lion used to be there. And he said, no, Daisy's out at the farm right now. And they
Yep.
wanted to go see the lion. And it's amazing because at the same time, our little girl was 3 too, and this
Yeah.
little boy was 3, and it breaks your heart.
Well, they
you know,
climbed
it
across the
just-
fences. That's
Yeah, but anyway, it doesn't
Never should
matter.
have gotten up there, but yeah.
But it
You were being
doesn't
kind
matter,
by
a
saying
little
you can go
boy.
see the lion.
Right.
right.
Yeah.
And and they weren't able to attach.
attached, yeah.
Yeah, no, they weren't back then.
Yeah,
So
and then that led to a
anyway,
legal
you
thing and
just
it was a mess, but whatever.
yeah, but your heart just breaks, you know.
Yeah, I felt
And
terrible.
at that point,
Yes.
in your career, I mean, it was just starting really, you think to yourself, gosh, I just don't know if I can deal with animals anymore. I mean, it just was like a knife in your heart because you would never want to cause pain to anybody. Exactly. Exactly. It was tough.
It changed the course of your life too because you ended up moving away.
Correct.
We did.
And even just reading that was so heartbroken for the family, but also for you guys, and just the weight of that, because that's like you said, you don't want to cause anyone pain. And for you guys, I mean, your love of animals is what launched you into this whole lifestyle of animals. Like, you wanted to be with animals and love animals, and so it's just a heartbreaking thing. But then it kind of took you to your next season of life, where you moved to
Florida.
Albany, Georgia, actually, to work with Jim Fowler, who used to be on Wild Kingdom, and we
Another
went
TV
there.
show, right?
Yes,
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And you guys kind of helped him build that zoo as well, right?
Well, we were down there taking care of animals. He had a big farm there in Albany, Georgia, and he had a lot of animals, and he even had an elephant there that you almost got nabbed by that elephant. You were lucky you're in a corner because it charged him, and if he had been against a flat wall, it probably would have crushed him.
Gosh.
But he was in a corner, so there was a little bit of give. But Jim was taking care of animals there that were going to be transferred to a zoo, and Jack was in charge of taking care of all of the animals.
Is this where you live, surrounded by rattlesnakes?
Yes!
Like everywhere, right?
Yes, rattlesnakes were everywhere.
Gives me the heebie-jeebies, yeah.
So it's interesting because you have a whole chapter about snakes, and Levi's one of his greatest fears is snakes. And so, but it was interesting because you kind of talk about that, like, so many people are afraid of them, but you were saying in your book, like, how intriguing they are and how much you actually really love them. And so it's just interesting.
Yeah,
like,
try to get me over my fear of snakes, Jack. I can lie down on the couch if you want. But.
No, a lot of people, I don't blame people not liking snakes. But I had that one time I had a snake, though, what was that one that squeezed me?
Oh, the anaconda.
Yeah, the anaconda. It was a huge animal. This thing was, how big? How long was that
Probably,
thing?
it could be 20 feet
20
long.
feet, a huge animal. Like,
I mean, they can get up to over 30.
The thing got around my waist there. Yes, like this, I thought it was just, because I never had one that big around me ever.
Oh,
The people that had the snake, you went like this, and he came around me like this, and so I was doing like this. All of a sudden, the snake was on me, they went like this, and every time, that's how the snakes, when they go eat something, that's when they go around the person, or the animal, and then when that animal goes like this, and every little, even if you go, hardly even do anything, they go like this.
That against you.
Exactly, tighter. The minute you breathe, and that's how they eat the animals.
You're exhaling, probably.
Well, exactly, man, I was lucky. Because that thing,
how'd they get it off?
At first, I never had this happen to me that way, but like this, and I went, like that, and I couldn't. Then finally, the two people got him off of me.
Oh my gosh.
I learned a lesson on that one because I should have known better. It was my fault.
Gosh.
We had a big python. It was over 25 feet at the Columbus Zoo, and Jack said, I thought this was fun, Jack said, we have to name it Fluffy. So Fluffy the snake. People would come to see Fluffy, a big python.
Oh, I love it.
Sue.
But it's interesting because when we would go to Africa, very seldom would we see snakes, and that was the one animal that I wanted to see was a python.
The one that supposedly is most dangerous is the mamba, right? Black mamba.
Black mambas.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Like crazy venomous.
Yes.
I've heard they're called like the 7-step serpent because if you get bit by one, you'll be dead in 7 steps.
Oh yeah.
Like
Yes,
that.
you will.
The Bushmaster, they say 1 step.
Yeah.
That's Central America, South
That's
America.
worse than the mamba then.
Probably.
But the mama's crazy fast.
Yes.
And can climb trees.
Yeah.
All of those things make me
Yes.
feel nauseous.
Yeah. You're right.
You would not want to encounter one for sure.
No, I would not want to.
But I've
encounter one.
only seen.
I don't even like garter snakes.
Really?
I
No.
don't
Yes.
blame you.
Like behind
Yes.
Jack, there's a picture of him right in my eye line with a giant snake on this photo.
That's
If you
the anaconda, right?
If you're watching this instead of listening, you can probably see it behind Jack's head. If you're listening, every
Just imagine
2
a
week
huge
delay, we put this
snake.
on YouTube. You'll have to wait 2 weeks, then go watch it. But that's neither here nor there. And it gives me just the creeps. But you lived in a farm with rattlesnakes everywhere, right? And you would. And
They
you
were
said
everywhere.
Your friend would run barefoot
Yeah.
And
Stan Brock.
and he would step on snakes sometimes.
That
which is in the
happened to
Bible.
him.
Oh my
But
gosh.
what people don't understand, when you hear a rattlesnake like
Yeah.
that, the snake is trying to keep you away from it. Some people want to get closer, see they hear that like that, they go up like this. Well, with me, I back off.
Yeah.
Because once he
Snake-
rattles, that means he's going to jump.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Yes, Dan was telling me one time that he did, as you said, he felt something wrap around his foot,
Yep.
and he was barefoot.
Oh my gosh.
And what he had done was stepped on the head of the rattlesnake. And he said actually that saved him because then the snake could not
He was
bite
lucky.
him.
Yep.
But he felt it wrap around and he just jumped away and he was okay. He never did get
There's
bitten.
a sermon in there somewhere. Something about Jesus crushing the head of the snake. Right?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Seriously.
Wow.
That's what Jesus did on the cross, I guess, is what the Bible talks about, like prophetically, is he crushed the head of the serpent.
Well, because at the beginning, when Adam and Eve, well, and I think you mentioned that in your book, like probably the reason why we have such a fear of snakes is because of the first snake.
Oh, yeah.
But just how when not prophecy, but at the beginning when God said like the snake will bruise your heel, but you will crush his head. Anyways, but okay, so one of the things you mentioned in your book, which we're talking about Jungle Jack, My Wildlife, the book by Jack Hanna, that is just
It's a
incredible.
great
And I
read.
just want to encourage you to buy it and read it because it is so beautiful. I mean, your guys' story is powerful, and it's so beautiful because it starts with just such a sweetness and such a love of animals, and you just see the progression of how God unfolds your life, and it's so beautiful. So for those of you listening, you've got to get the book. But one of the things you say is how you believe so strongly about little kids having pets because they learn such lifelong lessons with their pets, with unconditional love, with responsibility, taking care of them, and also loss, because inevitably we're going to lose a pet. And so kids are able to deal with lifelong lessons with their pets. And I just think that's such an insightful, beautiful thing. And even just for us, because I grew up with pets, but they were all outside. I didn't really have like a love relationship with any pets. So even in our family, it took us a while to get our dog Tabasco. Although when I said, hey, I think it's time to get a dog, Levi returned a text. It was like, okay, I found one in Billings. Like he was waiting for me to say yes.
She kind of was reticent, and then when she finally showed a weakness, I ran that thing right through her.
But hearing you say that in your book just like made me
She
think like
literally said, I was reading in Jack's book, and now I want to get more pets. And I'm like, all right, let's get this.
So, but anyways, that's just such a
You were
beautiful
saying that it teaches kids about
perspective.
loss, teaches kids responsibility.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a really good insight.
Because that's when my dad was 6'6" and played football at Vanderbilt. My dad told me and my mom when I wanted the animals on the farm, you will be taking care of those animals, Jack. If those horses, you will feed them. If they're not fed by you, then they'll be taken from you in a week.
Wow.
And then so my goats and all the other sheep, the animals I got, and I learned real quickly, if you have an animal, and let's say even our kids, if they want a dog or cat, sure, yeah, that'd be great. You will take care of the animals. If not, then we're going to have the animal go. And my dad told me very seriously about the animals I had, the goats, sheep, all kinds of things. And I went up every single day. I fed every animal all the time, every day.
Wow.
To take care of them, because you're responsible for a living creature.
Yeah.
And that's a big responsibility.
Exactly,
and as
sure
a
is,
kid,
yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's important.
Yeah.
It develops so much inside you.
Right.
What's that quote? I think it's a Roosevelt quote. Maybe it's Churchill. There's nothing better for the inside of a man than the outside of a horse. Like, it's just really good for you to be around animals.
Good for your soul.
Yep.
I haven't heard that quote, and I
pretty
adore
good.
quotes. So that's a new one for me.
But something good for you. And it's funny, we were in Mexico and we got to do one of those swim with dolphins things that if Peter heard about, we'd probably get in trouble. But they were saying they use the dolphins for therapy too.
Yes, they do.
Which is pretty cool because you do feel good when you're around an animal or around a horse.
Yes. You're right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, Jack did a segment on that, and it really was one of my favorite shows, TV shows
Which
that
one was
he
that?
did. You were, it was children that were challenged with special needs, and this dear, precious little boy, oh my goodness, you fell in love with them, and they were showing this program how these children responded to the dolphins.
Oh, that's right.
And it really was beautiful to see. There's another program like that in Curacao where they do it. But in this one episode, the dolphin came up and this little boy was sitting next to Jack.
Yeah.
And he just had the best time with this dolphin. And he looked up at Jack and he said, "I love you, Jack. Thank you, Jack." It was just precious. It
Yeah,
really
it really
was.
was.
But animals do have a special way, with
People with trauma too, I think.
Yep.
You're right.
Horses know,
Exactly.
they read people really good.
You're exactly
I think
right.
they use them in PTSD for
They do.
soldiers.
You're right. You're right. It's amazing what animals can have done to save people.
Horses a lot.
Yep.
And interesting, right?
Yep.
What is that? What do you think that is?
I don't know, but there's a lot of programs out there right now, and maybe they feel more comfortable with an animal, that you don't have to be on your best behavior or presence or whatever, that you just feel totally comfortable with an animal. There's unconditional love there.
Yes.
But it works. That's what's
Yeah.
amazing. It really
And
works.
horses like really are good at reading you too. Like know if you're scared. Like if when you're riding a horse, you have to really be at ease. But the horse knows. Like I know, like when I get on a horse, the horse knows I can eat all I want because this guy's an idiot. So the whole time they're putting their head down. But an experienced rider, the horse can read that too and be like, okay, I know I'm not going to get away with much. I'll just keep riding. So maybe
Yeah.
that's part of it too, that they just have good empathy and can read really well.
You're right.
I know that they use also dogs with children that are autistic, and there was a beautiful book. There was a story about a little boy that was autistic and had a golden retriever, and the first time he talked was when he got this dog. And it was about this beautiful relationship between the two.
Wow.
At the Columbus Zoo, sometimes kids come in there, they have problems. Let's put it that way. And there's some adults as well.
Yeah.
Even sometimes blind people have come to the zoo. And you just try the best you can to the people get out there, and it's really, I just love it to see people see the animals. They love that. They really do. At the Columbus Zoo especially.
Yeah, to flash forward, so obviously the humble beginnings in your kitchen to eventually you getting the position kind of as a young,
You were in your 30s, right? When you
What?
became you were in your early
31.
30s, 31
Yes.
when you became
Yeah.
the director.
Yep.
and you were given
Of
this
Columbus
position
Zoo.
running this zoo, but it was kind of it was a big job for you, but the zoo was in a bad condition, right? It was kind of beat up and run down.
Yeah.
And
Well, I like how
Yep.
you described, you said you were trying to get there and everyone, like the cab driver, the
Oh,
plane, like they're like, we don't have a zoo. What
Boy,
are you talking
you do know
about?
about that. Yeah. Here I'm going up there to take the job in the plane. A friend of mine had a plane, so he puts me in the plane, his own plane, and he said, "Jack, let's go look at your zoo." Oh, that'd be great. He gets about, 25, 30 miles away, and he calls the tower. This is flight number 542. We're going to go over to the Columbus Zoo. Could you see? I'm sorry? The guy said, "I'm sorry, what are you talking about? We don't have a zoo." I go, "Here's my paper." They asked me to come up here and look at the zoo. He showed it to me, and they said, the guy again said, "We don't have a zoo."
We don't have
Because the
a
Columbus
zoo.
Zoo is north of Columbus, Ohio. But no, that's still the Columbus Zoo. I felt terrible, but I said, "Here it is, please. We're almost there. We came all the way from Tennessee, for God's sakes. Where do you want me to go, Jack?" I go over the zoo. I can't get over the zoo. I don't know where it is. The guy doesn't know where it is. Just keep flying, please. And sure enough, we looked down and said, "Oh, there's a zoo down there." Oh, that is a zoo, isn't it? So we circled around the zoo. But nobody knew about the zoo. It's not
Yes.
because the zoo was north of Columbus, maybe 20 miles north. But I went there and landed, and I got in the taxi cab and told the guy at the airport. He said, "We don't have a zoo." I go, "Oh my God,
this all over again.
another zoo." Yeah. So anyway,
Yeah.
the point is that and then I
So
went
they
up there.
didn't even know they had a zoo.
Right.
So your challenge was not only to get people to come to the zoo, but to get them to know there was a zoo.
Yes.
Yeah, it sure was. And I went to see, you've heard of Nationwide Insurance. I went to see that company. That's where their big old tower in Columbus is where they were. I went in there and asked them. I didn't know who the president was. I just walked in the building, and I had a monkey with me. "Can I see the president, please?"
That's one
"What,
way
with
to
a monkey?
do that
Who are
monkey.
you?" "I'm Jack Hanna, and it's Christmas time." It was around Christmas. So I had a little card. Yeah, my monkey has a Christmas card for your president. And that's how I got to see him. And that was the first time I got to go up there.
So great.
And then Nationwide, boy, they were the first ones to help the zoo. But
So
I kind of snuck in
you were
there.
really creative in getting corporate sponsors, which was kind of innovative.
Yeah.
Exactly.
To get corporate sponsors to sponsor different parts of the zoo or
You're correct.
attractions. And that was how you kind of, because today it ranks very highly in the world as one of just the foremost
Yep,
zoos. And
yep.
you also have the Wilds, which is more of like a
Oh.
Africa experience in Ohio, right?
Yeah, 4,000 acres. Yeah, that was when the state called me. The president or the state called me up a long time ago. Said, Jack, we have 4,000 acres, and you would like the zoo like it? It's about, like I said, about 3 hours from the zoo where it is. I said, sure, we'll take it. And that's when we got down. So if you want to go to Africa, we have an African part where you can go through there and see giraffe,
Go to
zebra.
Africa in Ohio.
Yeah, exactly.
so amazing.
Yep.
They have 5 generations of rhino.
Yeah.
Oh my
yep.
God.
So are all the big 5 there?
No, no.
Which ones are missing?
Because we wouldn't have the leopard, we wouldn't have the Cape buffalo, we wouldn't have the lion there, but we have many other animals there.
Wow.
Yeah.
We
Because
have
the lions
a lot
can't
of
be
them.
outside because it gets too cold there.
Exactly. In the wintertime,
It does
yes.
get cold.
Yeah.
I mean, it gets cold
In
for
normal
the.
zoos, they're able to bring them in, take
Exactly,
them out. But in the
correct,
wilds,
correct.
they're always out there. That's
I mean,
where
we
they
have
live.
lions at the zoo.
Right, but not in that part. Because
Right.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
But like you said, I mean, the zoo was listed under the sewers and drains department in Columbus, if you can imagine. And also, Jack didn't know, but it was getting ready to close, so it was in dire
so
shape.
this was like their last ditch effort. You were kind of
Yes,
like,
but
if you
he
can't
didn't know
revitalize
that.
it, this is it.
Yep.
And
Wow.
you basically were like walking around. It was dilapidated. You said it was a really bad culture. You said the employees loved the animals, but weren't paid well. Didn't like being there. Is that
Yep.
right?
Yep.
It was
As a matter of
really.
fact, the first day I was there, the very first day, there must have been maybe 30 to 40, 50, maybe up to 50 people worked there. And I asked them all to come in to see me. And I asked them on different, I went the guys from the cats, the animal, the giraffes. In other words, I took everybody that worked there, every single one of them by themselves to come in my office and talk to them. And they said, Jack, I've been here for 5 years and never get to talk to them. They only talk to us a whole group, but not separately. I got every single person in my office to talk to them and thank them for working there. And that's how we got that zoo going.
But what was amazing is the first gorilla ever born in captivity in the United States was born in the Columbus Zoo in 1956 and was on the cover, I believe it was Time Magazine or National Geographic, one of them. So that was history right there.
Wow.
And she ended up living to be 65.
Well, I think there's a lot to learn right now in this time because, here we are hopefully getting close to the end of the pandemic. I mean, who knows how long this will drag on and peter out. But a lot of businesses are a lot of businesses have shut down or are in crisis.
Yep.
And, people need to learn how to pivot, need to learn how to breathe new life into cultures and in organizations. And I think there's a lot of parallels. You walked into the zoo you didn't know it on its last legs, filthy, badly financially in straits, all this, and you kind of had to turn around. So you're saying part of it was breathing life into the employees, but then being creative because you didn't have a lot of money to spend on stuff, but having to be creative. And one of the things you talk about was something so simple as taking the gorillas that were always inside but bringing them outside.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, the gorillas, like a lot of the zoos, it was the bars were in there. If you go to most zoos today, you'll see the habitats of these animals almost looks like some of the habitats they have in the wild. And I've gone around the world to see what these animals are, how they're living. So if you come to Columbus Zoo, you'll see the animals. Yes, at nighttime, some people say, "Oh my gosh, look how they have to go there behind the bars at nighttime." What's your bedroom like, everybody?
Yeah.
You have a room to go into, don't you? These animals have a beautiful room at nighttime. But yes, in the daytime now we have places outside almost every place we have. And we have the wilds, which is, if you've ever been to the wilds,
Huge,
which is out of the zoo, and that thing is huge.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, you can get a little old our truck down there and go see the animals down there. It's the same thing you're going to see in
Like
Africa.
a safari.
But
the
tell
safari.
them when you wanted to move the gorillas out for the first time for them to see grass.
So
Of
you're
course,
saying,
there was
you're
no
saying back in the day,
money.
everything was inside, and being in zoos was more like being in a prison.
Oh, you're right.
But you wanted to bring them out.
That's
their
you're
natural
right, you're right.
habitat.
How'd you get that
like
idea?
in the wild.
Because that was back then not being done. So how did you think of that?
Well, I just had seen in Knoxville, we had some outside, just a couple of them. But I just saw, when I got up there, I saw what they were in. They weren't suffering. They were just in these little old places, that's all. And so that's when the first thing I wanted to do was go up there and try. They had the rooms there to make these areas much bigger, and that's what we did.
But you had to convince the people over you that that was a good idea, right?
Yeah.
Well, he had to get the money. See, there was no money.
Yes, the
and
funding
so
for it.
Tell him how you got that. That way you went to Mr. McConnell. And remember, he said to you, he was the president of Worthington Industries.
What
and he said, Jack, how do you know the gorilla's not going to get out of the exhibit? And so you tell him. You tell him what you said.
What did I say?
Oh, you said, well, we'll put a chimp in there. Do you remember this?
What?
You said you'll put a chimp in there, and if the chimp can't get out,
yes,
then the gorilla won't be able to get out. But of
right.
course, you didn't know if that was true or not.
No,
So that was like your canary in the coal mine. If
Yeah, exactly.
Did the chimp get out?
No.
Oh, good.
No.
And guess what?
Did the
They
gorillas
gave
get out?
them the money so
The
that
gorillas
they
get out.
could make,
And so did
make
that
the
bring more
habitat.
people? Is that once the
Because
gorillas
the
were
gorillas
outside?
were the,
yeah.
gorillas were the
Oh, yeah.
more popular animal at the zoo at that time, even, right?
Exactly,
And so
because-
to bring
yes.
them out was.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a big deal.
But
that
even
was
when
huge.
the gorillas first came out and like touched the grass, like
Exactly.
explain
Correct.
that.
Yeah, that was beautiful to watch.
Oh gosh,
It really was.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
What, they had never touched grass before?
Nope.
So
'Cause
what was their reaction?
Well, it's like several zoos in the United States, and well, the animals were in behind bars on concrete. A lot of zoos. This is many, many years ago, by the way.
Yeah.
And then the zoo started putting animals outside, and then people started going to different zoos that had them outside. And then that's when Columbus, I went up there, and we started going outside.
But when the gorillas first touched the grass, they were really overcome
Oh
by
gosh, yeah, they go like this. They go out like that, and don't just jump on it. They go like this and touch it. They said our zoo.
my gosh.
And just touch it. They went real slow like that. Yeah.
That's touching.
And then you got to be very careful also when it starts raining and lightning and stuff like that kind of stuff happens. So you got to make sure you get the animals inside.
And a lot of people kind of have the impression like a bad taste of zoos, but really the reality is the awareness that raises allows people to fall in love with animals in a new way, and then they can do the work of protecting them in the wild that they wouldn't be able to without the zoo, right? And I've heard you make that argument.
That was exactly. And what some people don't know, this was years ago when I used to run the zoo. I have other people do that now, but I'm not in charge of the zoo anymore after 41 years. But the zoos have given millions, I said, millions of dollars every year to animals in the wild. Not the ones in the zoo, but millions of dollars go to help the animals in the zoos in this country.
Yeah.
It's amazing what we've done, all the zoos in the United States of America.
I think it's easy to bag on SeaWorld or bag on zoos, but like the reality is the awareness and the funding that does bring wouldn't exist otherwise, because there just wouldn't be on the radar for people to take care of them in the wild.
See, there you're right, because SeaWorld, I used to help them a lot when they first went on there, because sometimes some people go after them. But SeaWorld did so much great stuff for those animals in the wild. It's amazing. They really did. They helped them.
Where no one would really think of doing it, because you would never bump into a killer whale otherwise,
Right.
to even think about. I don't know.
That's a good
I do
point.
think that makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
Because I think it's really easy to pile on a zoo, but otherwise, how are you ever going to be around an animal to have, because you cared about them by being around animals, and that kind of continues to fan that flame.
We always say that the animals in a zoo are like an ambassador to their cousins in the wild,
Wow.
because
Wow.
really it's all about conservation and education to save these animals.
But it starts with awareness.
It
And you
does
can't
start
have
with
till
awareness.
you're kind of exposed to them.
That's
Exactly.
beautiful.
And the Columbus Zoo supports or helps to support over 100 different conservation projects in 42 different countries.
Yep.
And that's just one
Which
zoo
is
doing
huge.
that.
Yep.
Yeah, it is.
Yep.
It is.
And I mean, you've done yourself a lot of conservation work. I mean, you tried to reintroduce jaguars into South America.
Yeah.
Just didn't make it because of some Dramamine falling into the fuel tank.
How'd you find this out? Boy, this guy, he knows more about me than I know.
You were flying two jaguars trying to reintroduce them in South America, but someone dropped some medicine in the fuel tank and it almost caused your plane to crash in the ocean.
Exactly. We almost went down the ocean. The guy, he went up there to put gas in the wings when we stopped halfway over there, and he bent over and his pills and stuff dropped in the thing. And he gets on the plane, when the plane's up in the air, and he goes, Jack, don't say to anybody, if I drop my pills on there, and I think it stopped the thing up. You stopped it up, for gosh sakes. We're up in the air about 5,000 million feet. What are you doing? Tell the guy out there driving the plane, for gosh sakes. So I made him go up there and tell the guy. And sure enough, they found some of the pills.
It was like in the foil, though, and it clogged the fuel pump.
Correct.
Yeah, gosh. But I mean, and we were talking before our camera that some of those who are the loudest do the least. Some of those who complain about zoos and stuff. But what are they giving to conservation? Where you guys, the work you guys have done, you've supported, like you said, so many great causes.
Oh, gosh.
But like you said, Levi, it's about awareness. You know, you want people to fall in love with these animals. Yeah. And the famous quote for zoos is, you conserve what you love what you know what you're taught. It's education and touching people in the heart where they care.
That's so helpful.
We've like when we've taken our kids as a mom and dad, like taking our kids to the zoo when we can, and it's been such an incredible experience to watch them see. And then even your books, and Jennie's such a big proponent of you guys' books. Jack Hanna's Wild But True.
These are only a few of them, but our kids, like Lennox loves the Awesome Animal Almanac. Like every night wants to read them. But incredible. It is really, and it's fun, I mean, just the pictures are amazing, but the facts, and I would just say, if you're listening, you've got to grab these for your kids and read them to them, because they're wonderful
So besides
books.
the gorillas coming outside, what else really helped turn the Columbus Zoo around in those early days?
Well, we also, the first thing I tried to do was get the animals in bigger areas outside instead of being barred. But most of the zoos in the country many years ago was all bars. That's what it was. And then so finally at the Columbus Zoo, we tried to do things to get them outside on the grass for the first time. And it's amazing to watch them when they first touch grass. Yeah. It's a beautiful thing.
Wow.
And I'm not going to knock any zoo in the country, because zoos were zoos in America.
Right.
But now if you go to most of the zoos, and now you see them, my gosh, these animals have it, where everybody can't go to Africa. Everybody can't go to India. Everybody can't go to North Pole, South Pole. Yeah. And so what we're trying to do is let people see animals like this, so they'll, and they support. Zoos today are really supported greatly. They really are.
I think what really helps,
especially children, and we schools come in there now too. And they always have been coming in. How many years is our zoo?
Yeah, wow.
But the local TV networks, they would run stories on a special animal birth or whatever it was. Yep. And Jack did a lot of that. And I think just that local TV.
It got a buzz.
Yes, wow. It really did.
And then you started getting requests from major, shows and other opportunities.
Well, that happened with the birth of the twin gorillas. That's when that really started.
Wow.
Gotcha.
And also there's some children that don't have their parents that come up there with groups of they come in there. We let a lot of those people, we let them in free, where these kids can come in there.
Wow.
And so we do a lot of things for even blind people. So it's we try the best we can so people can see animals.
Some of the children from the inner city, when they come, they've never been there before. And I was taking a group around of 5-year-olds. Oh. And it was so cute, because we had a fountain in the middle of the pond that's at the entrance of the zoo. And this little boy from the inner city, his eyes got so big, and he said, "Oh my gosh, they even have whales here." He thought the fountain was the spout on a whale.
Oh,
yeah.
Precious.
So many cute stories like that.
How beautiful is that? I mean, for the beginning of you taking over this zoo that was dying and on its last leg, like you said.
Mark Wahlberg movie.
But then
We bought a zoo.
But then,
yeah.
But then now to see where it has, and how you have brought it to the point where it's not just it's not just thriving, but it's actually helping others and helping conserve and helping. Like, it's not just inward. Like, I think when you took it over, it was like, looking inward and not doing well, not healthy. But now you're helping other people, and you're helping. I mean, to offer the zoo for free to certain people, to be financing, helping conserve animals across the world, like, that is a beautiful transformation.
You're right.
And it started with you guys, with the heart of, we want to help people. We want to love we love these animals. We want people to love these animals, and we'll do whatever we can to make this happen.
Well, and you guys even leading by example, picking up trash. You guys would, as a family, walk around picking up trash, and eventually other employees started to see that if the zoo director can pick up trash,
Yep.
I can too, right? And that
Yeah.
really kind of turned the tide.
Yep.
It was a game for our family.
Yeah.
I mean, they to this day still talk about that. It's happy memories for our family of writing, because we could spend time with Jack
Yeah.
at his job. I mean, he worked
beautiful.
7 days a week. It took that to
And
turn
every
that
kid
zoo
wants
around.
to be raised in a zoo. Your
Aw.
kids just got to live in a zoo
Three.
because they built a house for you that you ended up living in, right? In the zoo.
Yeah, but the zoo bought some more property, about, I don't know, 10 acres, whatever it was, and there was an old house there that people left. And so they asked us if we would like to live in the house. So I said, yeah, I'll go ahead and rent some of it. So Sue and I moved up from our home inside the zoo. And that's when I told you, when I was bitten by that beaver on the Letterman show, I go to the hospital and they said, where do you work, sir, and where do you live? I put down the zoo, the Columbus Zoo. They said, no, where do you live, sir? I live in a zoo. Are you okay, for God's sakes? The doctor
That's when they thought he was crazy.
yeah, really ill or something.
And
You
you
kept
said
looking-
it's like a stone's throw to the giraffes from your front door, right?
Exactly.
Which is incredible. And even
Yeah.
your granddaughter got married with giraffes in the background.
Oh, she did just last weekend. She said, you know what? It's always been my dream to be married at the zoo. Yes,
Oh my
yes.
gosh. Okay, so you have
Yeah.
3 kids.
We do.
Tell us about like having kids while also like having animals. Like what was that like?
It was
crazy.
really,
Yeah.
for our family, it seemed normal.
Yeah.
But it obviously wasn't normal to bring all of these animals home. And we always had so many of the neighborhood kids at our
gosh,
house. And I
yes.
remember
As one
when
could
we
imagine.
were taking care of this little baby white tiger, the children would just gravitate to our house to see this little baby white tiger. But for our children, it was just normal to feed the little tiger its bottle. And it's not that the tiger should have been taken away from the mom. We would
Yeah.
have left the tiger with the mom. There were 4 cubs, but only one white one, and the legs were splayed out. And the vet said, we really need this tiger to be raised on a surface where it's not slippery. And so he said, we need to take this tiger, and we raised that little tiger on carpet in our guest room.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Don't
And
go
this,
near the tiger sleeping.
this story is funny because people knew about this white tiger. It was a big deal for the Columbus Zoo to have this white tiger.
Wow.
And one day I looked down at my engagement ring and the diamond was gone, and there was a scratch on my finger. I had gone like this and I scratched my neck, and Jack was next to me, and I said, oh my gosh, my diamond's gone. And we thought that Taj probably had either gotten it with her mouth, with her tooth, or her claw. So anyway, somehow it ended up in the paper that our tiger ate my diamond, which we never
Oh,
did
gosh.
find. It ended up on Paul Harvey, so people knew about it in Columbus. And a big donor to the zoo said to Jack, hey, he said, I'm not donating any more money to the zoo. And it's like, oh my gosh,
Was
why
he joking, or
not?
was he serious?
He was
No,
joking.
he was
Well-
serious. Well, he thought he was serious. I'm not donating any more money. And Jack's like, oh my gosh, what's wrong? And he said, Jack, any zoo that can afford to feed their tigers diamonds doesn't need any money.
Hilarious. Hilarious.
But I went up to
my
the zoo and started going through all the poo-poo to see if there's any diamonds. The animal ate her the ring or her wedding ring.
Yeah,
and I was
but-
going out picking up all the poo-poo and seeing if the animal ate it. So that was a
Did you ever
terrible.
find it?
That's
No, we never
commitment.
did.
No.
We
Okay,
never
so
did.
At that time, I think you guys were doing some like stuff with other zoo owners, and was it the Cincinnati Zoo that loaned you a very rare goose or something like that?
Oh yes, a goose.
And then the cheetah got it.
It was bad. It
Let's
was,
tell that story.
oh my gosh.
What?
Dream
The
the
goose that got
Syriopsis
eaten by the
goose.
cheetah?
Which one was that? That goose?
Yeah, what happened? Well, a keeper was really upset because this goose kept biting her, and she was really mad at this goose. And she went to somebody and said, "What can I do about this goose?" It wasn't Jack that she went to. She went to somebody else, and they were kidding around. They said, "Oh, just throw it to the cheetahs."
Yeah.
Well, she took it seriously, and she threw it to the cheetahs, and the cheetah killed this very rare goose.
On
and
loan
Jack
from the Cincinnati Zoo.
Oh, yes. And Jack had to call the Cincinnati Zoo and tell them, and they were not happy campers.
That is a very funny story.
But it wasn't
Not for the goose.
It's hilarious, though, that the guy just jokingly said,
Just
"God,
jokingly.
feed you the goose.
Yeah.
Feed you the cheetah."
And she
She
did.
grabbed the goose and threw it in the cheetah pen.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that stopped, by the way.
That
I got upset over the whole thing. But
I'm sure.
Okay, so Susie, I read how like whenever Jack would buy an animal or bring an animal home, like you were always it seemed like you were ready to take care of it, and you just supported him so much. Were there ever any moments where you were just like, we can't do this, or I don't know if I can handle another one, or was it
You
were
said
you
you would take all your
genuinely
spare money and buy animals, which is hilarious.
Always. You know, it's funny because honestly, I adored animals. So for me to be married to somebody that had that same common interest, it was great. And when I was raising the baby white tiger, she would claw my legs, just to say, "Mama, I want to eat. I want to eat. I'm hungry for my bottle." So my legs looked like I had gone through a blackberry patch. And remember, I told you the kids were always over there.
Yes.
Our daughter's friends were always over there. And this one girl looked at me because she saw the tiger scratching my legs as I was getting the bottle ready. And she said, "Mrs. Hanna, do you really enjoy this?" And I was so puzzled by the question because I felt so honored to be able to do it. And I said, "Sweetheart," I said, "I love this. This is such a joy for me." And she said, "Oh, my mom would hate it." So it's interesting because
Wow, that's
everybody has different interests. But for me, it was always a privilege.
That's awesome.
Always a privilege. And I'm telling you, you would walk into her house and we'd have little baby wallabies hanging off the doorknobs.
I know.
And one time Jack was on a promotional tour and we had to bring animals with us. And this is way back before TSA. And I had a smock, and underneath the smock, I had these two baby wallabies,
So,
which are kangaroos.
that was on the
And I
airplane,
would
so-
walk onto the planes.
Oh,
I looked
gosh.
like I was 9 months pregnant. We had to go through
tried to-
several airports. And one time I felt so guilty
Well, see, I put them under your shirt. I mean, she went in there because she was having babies, see, but she wasn't having babies. I had my two animals snuck under her shirt.
I know, but the stewardess said to me, should you be flying, ma'am? And I felt
thought she was
so
pregnant, see?
guilty. And I'm like, "Oh, no, it's fine. It's
You go to federal
fine."
prison for that today. Yeah.
I felt really
Oh yeah.
guilty
I
about
was going to
that.
California to do a show, so I snuck the animals up her blouse. I won't ever do that again. Oh my gosh, it was terrible. I mean, it wasn't terrible. The animals had fun.
And you don't like snakes, but sometimes he would want me. I had a parka that had a big pocket in front, and I'd have to put his legless lizard in there that looks just like a snake.
That's not good.
Oh my
That's
God.
hilarious.
Crazy stuff.
You
I
would
can't
get pretty
believe it.
wild phone calls. Like you talk about how you would just randomly, like, "Hey, there's a hippo loose. We need you to help us find it," or "This bear's up a tree. Can you please?" Because you had worked
Yeah.
for a veterinarian forever. So, I mean, what is it like tracking a hippo in the middle of the night in a random river? I mean, that is just so random.
Well, we went down there and found out it wasn't a hippo, though. I don't know. I mean, I couldn't find the hippo at the zoo. But the point I went down there was no hippo in the dadgum creek or river down in Columbus. It was nighttime. Police were there. All kinds of lights
The
going.
SWAT team.
Airplanes, SWAT teams. Oh my gosh! I don't
We're
know.
like, it can't possibly be a hippo, but that was the rumor that there was a
You
hippo.
did get called to like an alligator that got its teeth stuck on a police car's tire, right?
But the hippo, it ended up being an otter. Can you imagine?
That's a very
That's
big
a
difference.
big
Believe that one
difference.
about that,
Yeah.
seriously.
But that's right.
But the
Yes, you
alligator,
used to
like a
get
14-foot
calls.
long alligator that got his teeth stuck on a
Yes.
police car's
Yeah.
tire,
Yes.
Yes.
and you're having to like figure this out so they don't.
But-
Yeah, get it off
And
the
tell
tire,
them what
yeah.
you did with it.
I went and got it.
You got it.
I went and got it.
The police
Put it in
and
the
you.
station wagon.
Yeah, but then they released it into the St. Johns River.
Okay, so shh.
But this was such a testimony of who you are and how caring you both are, because reading how you would be so busy, like doing all this stuff. I mean, you were, like you said, 7 days a week, just you're caretaking for the zoo.
Kids, all the things.
And yet you'd get this phone call and you'd be like in the middle of like practicing a speech for something, but then you'd be like, well, I guess, okay, I'll come help you. But just even the puppy stuck in the air conditioning vent, like,
or the kitten stuck on the dam.
Oh my gosh! How'd you?
That was
you know about that one when the animal was stuck?
Oh my gosh!
Well,
and I'm
guess
like,
what?
here you are needing to take care of other things.
And I went to their house to get the animal out underneath the floor. I had to take the whole floor out.
Yes.
And guess what happened? I was walking out, and she goes, "By the way, this is not our house." I tore the whole floor out of this house
with a jackhammer.
with a jackhammer. And she told me when I got done going to my car, "This isn't my home." I said, "What? It's not your home. Don't tell them I ripped the whole house out, please." Well, I have to tell them something. Please don't use my name.
Gosh.
Yeah, they were running.
Oh my gosh.
But just your character of caring, like you cared for people, helping people, caring for animals, and that's just such a beautiful testimony of who you. I mean, you were in the midst of knee deep in your own stuff, but then you would just be willing to help other people. And I mean, I'm sure that took a toll, but at the same time, like you were just like, okay, I'll help you, that was just really special to read, and just such an example.
Well,
such a beautiful
did you hear about
example.
the one about the cat that was thrown off the bridge?
Yes.
They went across the bridge right next to the zoo. I just been there just for a few months. This person took a real cat at home, and threw it over, I guess to get rid of it, and threw it over like that. And all of a sudden the policeman calls me and says, "Mr. Hanna, can you help? Come over here." "What's wrong?" "Somebody's taking a nice kitten or cat or something." And so they threw it over the dam, and it just landed on a little, you know how you have the big things hold the dam up?
Yes.
And there's a little piece of concrete outwards like that.
It would have died if it didn't catch that.
Oh gosh! I went across real quickly. Went there myself, and I looked down there. And I said, "Oh my gosh, that's terrible!" The cat was on the little thing, and another 30 feet down, and underneath there, it's behind the dam. So all the water that goes in there, it's like this. So there was no chance the animal would have died.
There's a 1 in a million chance.
Exactly. So
but don't all cats land on their feet?
Yeah, he landed right on that little thing there. So I went and quickly got almost canoe type thing at the zoo, and put it in the water with my buddy. When we got in there, and I told the guy upstairs, I said, take some water balloons, because the police didn't know what to do. And police were all over the place. And I said, go get some blow up things and put water in the
balloons. Yeah.
Put water in them and drop it on top of the cat and knock him off there. So we'll have our baskets and all of our things down there, nets and everything. So we got the boat down there with all these things and nets and all that stuff. And I said, get your bottles or your rubber things with the water things, water balls, and get the thing off there. It's going to die. It hits there, it'll go right in. I can't do anything for it.
Yeah.
So sure enough, they would drop it like this. Didn't get the first one, then the second one, then finally the third one. They dropped it and hit the cat, and we had the stuff right there. Caught the animal. It was fine.
Oh my gosh.
So all the police people were standing on. There must have been 500 people up there watching this whole thing.
Oh my gosh.
And I wish they hadn't let them do that, but
I know.
I just couldn't sit there and have that cat just sit there and die up there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know that happened.
Yeah.
And then somebody adopted the cat, and what did they name it?
Tell them, Sue.
Hannah.
That was okay.
So sweet.
In the midst of all the great stuff with animals and work and opportunity, obviously hard seasons came. You guys had a battle of leukemia with your daughter when she was very young.
Yep.
How old was she?
2.
Jeez.
Yeah. That was tough.
And she also had some things in her brain as well.
And yet,
Yeah.
in the midst of all that, I mean, everything was successful, and she's been in remission ever since, right?
Yep.
She has been, but the cranial radiation that she had has caused brain tumors. So she's had 2 surgeries for brain tumors, and next week we have another MRI because we have to check
So
for
it's been
that
an
every
ongoing
year.
thing.
Yeah, it's an ongoing,
Yeah, and that's
ongoing
truly-
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how? I mean, I imagine. She was your first daughter, right?
Third.
Third.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, but still that was a long time ago. That just that crisis of faith. I mean, how dark, how hard. I mean, I know you talk in the book about, the challenge even of your other daughters being jealous of attention because they were kind of with other family members when you're dealing with all this was it the Mayo Clinic? Or
St. Jude's.
Children's
St. Jude's.
Hospital.
St.
Yeah.
Jude's.
Yep.
Yeah.
Gosh.
You're right. And when she was diagnosed with her first brain tumor, it was huge. Almost looked like a fourth of the size of her brain. I mean, it was really, really big. And the night before we went, our minister came over and prayed with our family. And that was so comforting and brought us such peace.
Yep.
We'll never forget that.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was amazing that she survived. It was just great, though.
Yeah.
So it is really a miracle. I mean, that is, leukemia is so often deadly.
Oh, yeah.
Well, especially back then. So many of the children didn't survive then. Yeah.
Yeah. It's incredible faith in the hard times to give you strength. I mean, I remember you even just talking about just how that's been such a strength for you to have that to lean on.
And that's when also back then I would also take some of my animals and go to the hospital to see the kids.
Oh.
Yeah, some of them wouldn't let me in, but some of them would. But it really meant a lot to those kids, though. It really did, to see little animals. Yeah. So I used to do a lot of that stuff.
Wow.
But Jack gets a lot of children that come to the zoo, and it's their special wish time, and that's really tough. Tell them about the last little girl that came who was in the wheelchair. And remember, she was touching all the animals that you had brought out for her. And you said to the dad, should we wash her hands now because she was touching all the animals? Yep. Remember what the dad said? That's okay.
Yep.
Her hands will be washed soon in heaven. And she passed away shortly after that.
Very hard for you to take that.
It's very heartwarming to see the joy that you can bring to people. Yep. And it's really over animals.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. So special.
So beautiful. Okay, I have an important question for you, Jack. So, the hat that you're wearing, I see it in almost every picture. Is that the same hat, or do you have multiple hats of that one?
No, it's the same hat, by the way. But you know something? I did not like wearing hats. I never hated hats. All of a sudden, I'm going through an airport one time, and the person that I was doing TV stuff by myself, and the guy goes, "Hey, look at that hat over there, Jack. I don't wear hats. Get away from me. Jack, look at that hat. Here, look at this hat, Jack." He was one doing the show for me. "Just here, try a hat. I don't like hats." And this is the same hat 30 years ago.
You bought it in the airport.
Do you want to know?
Are you serious?
Yes.
You can definitely tell.
What are you doing, my
You can see through the hat.
Sue, stop it. Sue,
We desperately need to see somebody to read it.
This is the first time on TV. I didn't know it was that bad, Sue.
Knows a good hat repair shop. What is
this thing? Where'd you find? Oh, gosh.
Probably.
Sue, where'd you find this? Don't show it on TV.
Wow.
Oh, my
You didn't
gosh.
know there was broken.
Sue, this is my famous.
That's
And that's going to be the second repair.
It's a famous hat. Everybody likes my hat. Now you.
She ripped it.
Oh, my gosh.
Sue, it's sad.
Sue,
We've tried other hats. They don't work.
I'm going to take you to a store today and get me some those things you go
I don't
sew
think
it for
that's
me.
going to work.
Sue, you
I
have
think
to.
we need to find a hat repair.
I'm sorry. Is your show a real good show?
Okay, the
I'm
fact
sorry.
that that's the same hat is so special.
It is the same hat. I mean, it's literally. He wishes he did, but he doesn't have another hat
How
like
has it never
that.
come off in like a windstorm or any of that?
Oh, it's come off before. I've lost it in the lake before, in the ocean. Yeah, it goes like this. I could get it. Hurry, get it! Oh my gosh,
He's
I'll jump in the
lucky he
ocean.
still
I'll
has
get
it.
it.
Blessed
I
anointed hat.
had to rescue it twice already. But
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's amazing.
if something happens to me, I want to go away to Earth with my hat with me. So.
Let me ask you this question: What did you have a relationship with Steve Irwin? Were you friends with Steve?
Yeah, I knew him. Yeah.
I mean, that was such a tragic thing. That whole stingray incident.
Yeah, people. It was a terrible thing. Yes, and he was swimming in the water with his friends. The news kind of took it two different ways, but he was a great guy. And they were just swimming out there, just relaxing and stuff. And that's one of those. The shadows. What happened was his shadow went over the animal, and he popped up like this. That's how the whole thing happened. News didn't get there was an attackment. No, he was swimming. He and his buddy just taking a break there alongside there, and the animal just popped up. What was it?
Stingray?
Yeah, it was a huge stingray.
Yes, and all of a sudden the shadow went over the animal, and the animal just popped up like that.
And they figured the camera guy, because at some point they were filming, the camera guy was in front, it was shallow water,
Yes,
Steve was on
correct.
top. and the stingray probably felt trapped.
See?
It was nothing like that. But, he has a beautiful legacy with Bindi and
Kids are still
Robert.
doing the same kind of thing.
They are. And we went
Our
over.
kids we've DVR'd their show. They prefer yours, but they do like that show.
They are an amazing family. And we went over to the Australian Zoo, which was Steve's zoo, and filmed over there.
They still work there. They do the croc jumping out of the water and all that stuff.
Yes, they do. And Terry and Bindi and Robert filmed with us. So that was very special.
Amazing.
And their
really was.
zoo is amazing.
Is it cool
It really
to
is.
see?
Yeah, it really is.
because
that's a good
people
question.
don't sue over there, and they walk the elephants
That's
around
funny. They
and
don't
the
sue over there,
cheetah.
you said. That's the
They
problem with our country,
don't.
so they can do more crazy stuff.
Oh, they do. I mean, it's just such a wonderful free experience with free. I don't mean money wise,
Yeah.
but
Like open
just
Yeah, we went to the Taronga Zoo. It was amazing in Sydney.
In Sydney,
But
we've been
what are some
there.
of the other best zoos? San Diego's obviously world renowned. What are some of the other better zoos around the world? That you
My
have liked?
favorite,
Well,
Singapore.
Yeah.
I think Singapore's
Singapore too.
that zoo. You actually have the orangutans. They can be in front of you, and then they walk across you, and
Right.
they're not in a cage. I mean, it's
Right,
amazing
right.
how they do it. So you feel like you're
Yeah.
the one, and yes, that you're the one inside. I mean, you're not
It's
inside,
amazing.
but
Just walking around
I mean,
all the outside.
it's an incredible zoo.
I got very surprised
Incredible.
by a kangaroo in the Taronga Zoo. It came up behind me, and I turned around, and I thought it was Jennie, but it was
Oh, really?
a kangaroo. Yeah, you can kind of go in the enclosure where there. It was the only animal they let you kind of go in around. It
Yeah.
was pretty epic. Kangaroos are amazing.
Yeah, they are amazing. All right. Yeah,
They're
they
fun.
can kick. Yeah.
But the
I've
look on
heard.
their face, they're very serious looking. So like you look at them, you almost don't want to look at them in the eyes because
Yeah,
you
they
think
can
they
kick.
might grab you.
What
or
about you?
something.
What's other than your zoo? What are your favorite zoos to go to?
Oh my gosh. What do you think, Sue? I
She
it's
said
just-
Singapore. I heard Bronx is good. Is that one?
yeah,
nice?
that was. I haven't been
Yeah.
to a lot of zoos in the last 20 years, though, because I was, working and stuff. But then I do want to Sue. People say, "What are you going to do now, Jack? You're retiring from the zoo." And I said, "Well, I want to get Sue and start going around maybe to some of the countries we went to." But that was when we were working and filming. But I really want to try that in the next couple of years to go back and see the animals ourselves, just like
What are going to be the first places you want to go
Yes.
to?
Oh, that's amazing.
We'll probably go back to Rwanda.
Yeah, always. Rwanda
Yeah.
is very special in our hearts.
Yes.
All the
As a matter of
gorillas there, right?
fact, yeah, the mountain gorillas are there,
Yeah.
and the Columbus Zoo is instrumental in
Yeah.
in helping over there through Partners in Conservation. And our big Rwanda Fete, believe it or not, is this weekend, but it's virtual
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
because of the
We do a lot of things.
You have a
coronavirus.
home in South Africa too, right?
Well, in Rwanda.
Rwanda.
Or Rwanda.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And he was Africa. You got it
Yeah,
on there, right?
it's
Yeah.
Africa.
Well done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well done, pal.
yeah.
So
And
your
other people
home's in Rwanda.
go to the place. So
And the president there, I mean, he is just such a
yeah, he
remarkable
came
man.
to stay with us. He was an American, came to see us here in Montana, and he's a great guy. He really is.
Wow.
Yeah, he is really the reason that Rwanda has done
Boy,
so
sure is.
well. And
It's-
I remember one of our guests that we brought to Rwanda, she asked him, she said, "How could you possibly achieve reconciliation in just 11 years when countries, I mean, it's centuries, and they still don't have peace?" And he was so humble and so sweet and so dear. And he said, "You think I did that?" He's just
Yeah,
such a
it's-
great guy.
Wow.
If you read about Africa, it's the safest, cleanest country in Africa now. So some people, when they're talking to me about where they can go to Africa, I say, "Oh, Rwanda." They go, "Oh, no, they had wars there." I said, "Well, our own country had a war too, by the way."
Yeah.
But that was years ago, folks.
Right,
Don't let
right.
them, some people try and tell them not to go. It is the safest, cleanest country. You can't find a piece of paper that way anywhere on the road, anywhere, nothing.
Isn't that amazing?
It's amazing what he's
They
done.
have cleanup on the fourth Saturday
That's
of
right.
every month, and even the president
Yep.
picks
Exactly.
up
Cleans up
trash.
trash.
You're right.
Yep.
There you go. Back to picking up trash.
Wow.
What animal
Wow.
would you wish you could have in the zoo that's just impossible or unrealistic to keep contained?
Oh my gosh.
Well, you just said it.
What?
In Rwanda, what is the
The gorilla?
Yeah, the mountain gorillas.
You can't keep a
There
mountain
are
gorilla in
no
captivity?
mountain gorillas in any zoological
Why?
park because they will die. You
There's not that many
can't
of them either.
provide for them what they need.
Wow.
And there's
You
not
just
that many
can't.
of them anyway.
What do they need?
Well, they eat so many different plants.
Yeah, plants
up
are,
in
yeah.
the Virunga jungles.
Oh, and
well,
you can't
there's
provide
also
all
other
those for
places too.
them.
You
It's
just
like the great white
can't.
shark of the zoo world, because you
Yeah.
can't keep a great white in captivity; they die like really quickly.
I don't
too.
know of a great white. I'm not going to
Monterey
say
Bay
that, but
Aquarium
there's
did it for a while, but
Did they?
longest. But I think after 100 days, I think it died or something like
I'll
that.
be darned. Huh.
But there's a lot of research going on, which was remarkable because how do you do research on a great white? And now that's been achieved.
Okay, the mountain gorilla is the one.
Yep.
Mountain gorilla, you cannot keep in captivity.
Yep.
Interesting.
And they're really vulnerable. I mean, their numbers now, at one point, they were down to like 234.
Oh,
That's
gosh.
it. Now the numbers are just
Yep.
over 1,000.
Wow.
But it's separated in two different areas. There's not a corridor where they can come together, which is disappointing for genetic reasons. But with just in Rwanda, it's 400 and something. And with numbers that few, you've got to do everything you possibly
Everything.
can
Yeah.
to
For
ensure
the
that
next
these.
generation, there won't be any of them.
And that's what
That's
you
right.
worry about.
Yeah.
But Rwanda's done an incredible job.
They sure have.
really, really have. And they take it very seriously. The ranges are amazing.
They
and
sure
of course,
are.
the government's behind it. And you can't go if you're sick. They make sure of that
Yeah.
because the animals the mountain gorillas would be so susceptible to any kind of disease, which could wipe them out.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, Sue, you're an avid fly fisher woman. Or is it fly fisherman? Is it fly fisher
Whatever
woman?
you want to say is
I'm
great.
trying to remember what you're supposed to say.
It
I don't
doesn't
fish,
matter.
but she fishes. I'm like like on a golf course, you know, you have the guys that carries a bag of
Caddy.
golf.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm the one that takes all of her stuff and carries it all around while she goes fishing.
So she's an avid fly
Jack
fisherman.
did fish one time. They were actually filming him fishing. And when you fly fish, you don't want your fly to hit the water behind you. You just want it
You
to
want it to be
lay out
parallel.
nicely at
And then
3
right before it gets
o'clock.
to the zenith, you go back.
And Jack's fly always hits the water behind him.
So-
And it was hilarious because he actually caught a fish behind him.
Behind you.
Well, I thought it was a tree. I said, oh, darn it, I
He
got
thought
a
it
tree.
was a
That
tree,
happens
but
to
it
me
was
lot.
a
I smacked the tree
trout.
I said, so I got
Yeah.
a tree. No, you got a big fish on it. I go, what?
Hey, John.
It was funny.
That was on TV. That was
that-
filmed.
Oh, gosh.
I think so. I think that
that's
was,
so
yes.
very
That
cool.
was
Yeah.
amazing.
They were
The
filming
first
during
time
that
I caught a
episode.
fish on a fly rod, I was in a drift boat and had been casting, nothing, no bites. And then my reel came off the rod.
Oh.
No.
And so I was like, so I'm like trying to reconnect it. And then the guy yells, fish on. I'm like, what? I still hadn't connected it yet. So I just grabbed the string.
Oh, no,
of
you
the line
didn't.
and just pulled it in. I hand pulled it
You're
in.
lucky you
got
didn't.
Got the fish right
And
in.
you got it.
You
Your
could
first
have
fish.
burned your hand if you
It
took
wasn't
off.
so bad. That
Oh.
the tippet and all that's
Yeah.
pretty
I know.
easy to grab. But it was
Oh my gosh.
got it
Oh my
in.
That's,
gosh.
that's
Amazing.
great.
So, but there's nothing quite like that feeling though when you feel that bite.
Well, you know what happened to me once? She was fishing, and we were up there on the river there. I don't know where, and I wasn't fishing. But then finally, you wanted me to fish, right? So I'm fishing.
Oh, this is hilarious.
No, it's not hilarious at all, Sue.
Oh my
So
gosh. Literally, the whole trip, he did not even cast one time. And I
know.
said, you have to cast at least one time.
Yeah, because we only had about another about not even a quarter of a mile to finish.
Well, nothing. I mean,
Well,
the
you made me
guide
do it.
said we're at the end. I
So,
said,
all,
Jack,
so all of a sudden,
just
okay,
do
I
it.
put my fish in there. We go around the corner, and guess what? There's tell them what it was, Sue. Who was there?
the game warden
The
was
game
there with
warden
a
standing
big
right there.
sign, stop.
And I had not fished anything because I haven't got a thing to fish.
This was
Oh,
on
you
the
didn't have a
middle fork.
license.
This is unbelievable. Yes, but she's the one who made me fish.
Oh
And then they
my
stop us,
gosh.
don't they, Sue?
They stop
was
Oh
it
us.
my gosh,
and-
you're the one that made me do this.
Oh, I mean, it was hilarious because what
Yeah.
happened
Hilarious my
is.
foot.
Did he know who
What is
you
wrong
were?
with you?
No.
Oh, okay.
Well, maybe he did. I don't know. But the thing is, when you go on a guided trip, you have to show them your license. And we
I've never
always
told
buy a
anybody this story.
license.
Now it's on Hayes
So
Luskos.
Jack shows them our license, right? We have our license,
yeah.
and we come around, and the game warden's there. Well, no big deal because we have our license.
So-
And so the game warden said, please show us your licenses because her daughter was with us. And Jack said, sure, and gives him the 3 licenses. And
So-
he goes, this is fine for Julie. This is fine for Susie. He goes, Mr. Hanna, yours is expired. He had grabbed the wrong license. He had kept his one from last year, and they said, sorry, buddy, you're going to court tomorrow.
Going to court?
8 o'clock in the morning.
I thought you could just go and tell me.
8 o'clock in the morning.
In the morning, I go there, and guess what's in front of me? A guy was going to prison because he robbed something. And now I'm next one in the thing.
Jack Hanna.
Jack Hanna,
Step
exactly. This guy went to jail for I don't know how many years, and I'm there with the daggum thing.
And he said,
You're the one
just
made me do
look in
this.
the computer. It would show you I have my license.
So what happened? Did the judge dismiss it?
Yes, he made me go to jail.
No. What did he do? Jack, he recognized Jack.
Yeah, he
and Jack's
recognized me.
like,
And you know what I did? I signed a book for him.
You gave him an autograph.
I gave him the book, yeah, an autograph, yeah. And then all of a sudden he came and put me in.
No, he pounds his gavel down, and he said, that'll be $100 fine.
Yes.
After
I gave him
not
a
having the
dang book.
current one with you.
Yes.
Even though you had it.
Even though he had it.
See, that's
so
a
you
good
better
lesson.
have it on you.
That's
And
a
the
good
current
lesson.
one.
The current one. The current
Okay.
one.
So when I knew we were going to be good friends was when I saw the sauna in your house. Everybody has a love of sauna. I was like, he's going to be a friend of mine. How did you first get into dry sauna?
You get what?
See, how did
A
you
dry
get,
sauna.
getting into
in-
the heat, the sauna?
A draw sauna.
a
The sauna at your house.
dry sauna, going into the sauna. We love hot tubs, and then in the wintertime, we haven't been here for the last 2 winters,
So-
but when it's chilly outside, it's so nice to
Yes.
go
I love a
into that
more than
hot
anything.
sauna.
Putting the hot-
Levi's
putting the
in it
water
Yeah,
in the
when we
day.
go into the hot sauna off the exercise room there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
How did you first get into those? Did you guys get exposed to them in Europe? Because that's where they're really big. Everyone in Europe has a sauna.
Well, I do, but sometimes I forget to put the thing, make it hot water.
The little hot thing. But actually, honestly, how it happened is there was just a space there in building our house, and the builder said, why don't you put a sauna
Okay,
in
it
there?
was more
Because he didn't know what
accident. There you
else
go.
to do
Oh,
with
that's
it.
awesome.
Yeah.
An accidental
It would have been
sauna.
that or a storage room, one or the other. We thought, oh, a
Hilarious.
sauna
You made the
sounds
right
better.
decision.
Yeah, but no, but I have it now here because I have a back problem. I've had my surgeries and stuff, so it's been lately. It hurts a little bit, but it's always getting a tub like that and goes
Does
up
it
on the
help?
muscles. It helps, yeah, a lot.
And the sauna, too, does.
It sure does, yeah.
Absolutely, because it reduces inflammation. There's a whole bunch of positive.
Really?
Oh, absolutely.
Hey, maybe we're going to have to turn it on when we go home.
Reduces
Yeah, we are. I'm going to. I'm
You
going
should.
to.
You
It-
should.
I'm going to.
It does stuff for your heart where you, can actually live longer because of.
Really?
Yeah, supposedly it allows there to be, I think, more water around your heart.
Exactly, that makes sense.
And then also releases something called a heat shock protein inside your body when you're
Wow.
in heat for like 15 minutes long. There was a study done where people in like Finland or Scandinavian countries, they do that all the time. They hit each other with those branches and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Basically, if you do it like 4 times a week or more, they live longer because cancer, heart disease, stroke, all those things are impacted by inflammation. So going in the sauna is super good for you.
We just did it because it felt good. We didn't know
Now you
all
know.
those benefits.
So, this is like a doctor. Give him $50. He's going to save my life, Sue.
Please.
He's going to save my life. I'm going to go. I swear. I'm
We
leaving.
are. We're
I
going to go
promise you.
home and
Sue,
do that.
Right now, see there? At 4 o'clock, I'm going to go in there and do my heart. Heck with my back. I'm serious. I'm going to start doing my heart.
I tell you, I get in there every day, take two big LaCroix or big bottle of water, just sitting there.
He
you can do stuff
loves
with
it.
thinking. And then I have a cold plunge too, so I go cold water,
Oh, no.
then hot sauna, then cold
Oh,
water.
No.
Yeah, gum it,
It's the
Sue.
best.
What does the cold plunge do for you?
Same sort of thing, but that's also really good for treating insomnia, cold water exposure.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do
I've heard
you
that. I've heard
put
that, yes.
some kind of oil in there, like eucalyptus, to make
Sometimes
it?
I put the eucalyptus with mint in the sauna on the rocks, but I usually just like it just hot. I like
Just-
200 degrees. Just
That's what I like,
go
yes.
for it. Yeah.
Wow.
So
Jenny, do you go in there?
I do. I actually enjoy it, but usually we have the kids and
They
Lennox
come
is
and
running
go.
in now, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
it's time for me to put him to bed. So
We've done some
I'm not
dates,
in there
though,
too
date
much.
nights where it's just, we'll just go in there, then go in the hot tub.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
And you guys like hiking together?
That's our favorite.
Yep.
That really
Yes.
is truly
Yep.
our favorite. Just to
It
be
really is.
one
We
with
love hiking here, yes.
one with nature.
Glacier
and-
Park.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
one of the things. I think like when I look at you guys, Jenny and I have been married for 16 years now. You guys 51 years.
Yeah.
But it all started with that foundation of friendship. You guys hike together. He carries your fishing pole. You
Yeah,
guys all
see
these
there,
adventures
Sue.
together.
It is true. I mean, I do feel blessed because we have the same interests. And that makes, I think, a marriage easier. You know, it's starting, first of all,
Sue.
with Christian values.
Can we
I
get the show
think.
again, please? Yeah, it's nice. No, I'm just kidding.
This is what we came to. This is the quality
You
content.
just said
we're
that,
here
so
for.
you like me.
Yeah.
51 years.
Guys.
51 years. You're stuck with each other
Yeah.
now.
Guys.
You guys, thanks for
I think
coming on the
that's-
podcast. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
you're
Say
so
what you're gonna say.
No, I was
No,
just
thank
going to
you.
say, I think that's one reason why we adore Montana so much is because we're surrounded by wilderness. And of course, we're loving your series, The Call of
Yes.
the
Oh,
Wild.
my gosh.
It's
Yes.
great. We wouldn't miss hearing it. And
Yep.
thank you so much for that and all the information you've given us about the national parks. We want to go to them all now.
So
You know, it's amazing. Really,
amazing.
you know, when I went filming around the world, all over every country, but this is my favorite place to go to because I get to see animals, I get to see people, I get to see all kinds of things here, and it just this is my favorite place to live. It really is.
Oh, that's
You know, when
so
you
beautiful.
see God's beauty of the mountains and
Yes.
the clean
Yep.
water, the pristine lakes and the
Yep.
waterfalls and the wildflowers, and then, of course, seeing the wildlife. I mean, it's magical. It really is magical.
God's
And
done a
you
great
know what's
thing.
so great about it? Anybody can do it. It's free.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
free.
Yep.
Yes.
And
As
I
long as
love
you have
that.
a fishing license. Otherwise, it's $100.
Okay, I'll go.
Yep.
He got a good point, Sue. Because we want to go fishing, and I don't think I have my license. I know it's not good
You
now.
can do it on your phone now.
The sad thing is, he doesn't even need to buy a license because he doesn't
Yeah, but that's
fish.
how it always goes. The person who doesn't have a license is like, just cast one time.
And that was
See,
it.
there, exactly. yes.
Literally,
You're
it
right,
was
yes.
one time.
You're right.
It was
Just
one
always get it.
time.
It's worth the $20 or whatever. it
Exactly.
is.
Yes.
You guys, God bless you. We love you. Thanks for being in our lives. Thank you for being our Montana grandparents and just being
So
our friends.
sweet.
No,
Yeah.
we just
It's great.
honestly are so grateful that we get to be friends with you and
Well-
just your example. You're both so kind and so generous and so loving, and we're just thank you. The notes that you write, Susie, are
For
just
teaching Jennie how to cut a watermelon.
you taught me. Yes, you taught me how to cut a watermelon.
You were so sweet.
But-
Actually, everything you just said describes you and Levi. That's who it's describing. You
Yeah.
guys are the best. You really, really are. And
At
we
least
just.
I taught you how to put espresso over your ice cream. It's some recipient.
Oh, we love
you're so
you.
sweet. You're
No,
so
I love
sweet.
coming here.
Thank
You know,
you.
I used to do TV for Good Morning America, all these shows and everything, and this is just for me. It was a thanks for letting me come on here because I used to do it for like 30 years, all those shows, and this is something to be on this show. So, yeah, I'm serious. It really
Thank
is. This is
you.
fun for me.
So
Thank
sweet.
you.
So fun.
Well, anytime with you guys
All right,
is
you guys are
special.
the best.
Thank you.